Hello, everyone. Are you guys excited to be here as I am today? I was looking through the bios of our speakers and am so excited because the backgrounds and the experience is just astonishing. My background is pretty broad and eclectic. So I like to say that I went from target tracking to wardrobe tracking. So I had a software company where we developed intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, target tracking, and locating software for some of our nation's most elite soldiers. And when I sold that company, I was able to work in a field now that I absolutely adore, which is fashion and technology. So I get to pair that fashion and tech. And I'm so excited to hear from our speaker today who's speaking on sustainable fashion. We have someone from AI, we have somebody from security, and we have someone from interior design. So without further ado, I would like to get started and introduce our event organizers. So today we have Dr. Kaipo Sotelo and Evan Rogers, who are the driving force behind today's event as co-organizers of TEDx and Unity Park as leaders of Upstart. Dr. Sotelo, CEO of Upstart, was raised on the island of Guam and has called Greenville home since 2013. He is the founder of Method Performance Labs and the creator of MyTrain, an AI-powered training platform for the modern athlete. A rehab and performance specialist with PT, DPT, CSCS credentials, he has worked with the Guam National Olympic Committee and Limitless Therapy and Wellness, and serves as the adjunct faculty for both North Greenville University and Anderson University. Evan Rogers is Upstart's CMO. He's a Los Angeles-born film director and brand strategist who spans HBO Max, ESPN+, Meta, ManyChat, LinkedIn Learning, and PGA Tour. He is the founder of Gradient Post-Production and the co-creator of the James Beard award-winning film Great Wall. His documentary work also includes Spellers, a Phoenix Film Festival Best Documentary winner, highlighting the experiences of non-speaking autistics. He is here in Greenville. He is the co-founder of Greenville Film Society, Greenville Film Rentals, and teaches in the film program at the Governor's School. So without further ado, please welcome Dr. Kaipo Sotelo and Evan Rogers, your TED Unity Park event organizer.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Welcome to TEDx Unity Park. All right, so you guys are here. You are more than double our last audience, and you're in this wonderful space that is Rome Greenville 1. We're excited for
Clap it up for them.
Yes, clap
awesome
it up.
Space.
Amazing. We have an incredible lineup. These rooms will get more and more packed, and we got obviously so many things happening in the vendor village area and every which way, so you're in for a treat. Thank you so much for supporting this. It means the world to Evan and I to be able to provide a stage like this, a little red rug.
We're confined to the rug, too. We got to stay in here.
To Greenville. Greenville is a great place. I've called it home for the last 12 years, and I don't intend to leave. And there's some amazing people that you're about to hear from, experts from all walks of life. And so I really, really do appreciate each and every one of you being here. It's going to be a great day. So let me talk to you a little bit about TED itself. I appreciate y'all taking photos and videos of the actual talks. We can't have photos and video recording, so if you can silence your cell phones and make sure that is set so you guys can fully enjoy the talks, that's one aspect of it. Aside from that, just enjoy the rest of the time. We want to make sure these speakers who have been working for months to present their ideas to you and to the world, we want to give them that respect and that love. Another kind of couple things I want to talk about is what this session's about. So there are 3 sessions, and I spent days trying to figure out who goes in what. And this first session is all about ignition. The start. So momentum as a whole, as a theme, doesn't get started unless that first move is given. And so ignition, belief in action, these 5 speakers all are talking about something that's starting. They're starting to build the beginning parts of momentum. And you guys are in the first session. You're making the first move here. Give it up for yourselves.
Yeah.
Come on. We are so excited that each of you are here. So, I'm going to pass it off to Evan. We're going to talk a little bit about these wonderful people that made it happen.
Me and Kaipo just got back actually a couple months ago from the first ever TED Sports Conference, and that was my first experience going to a main stage TED event. And one of the big things that comes from that is encouraging every participant in the audience, all the attendants, and everybody else to be a part of this community. And it's very exciting for us to be able to share this stage in a lot of different ways, but be sure to engage and be with each other and enjoy each other and soak up ideas, take notes, whatever you got to do. We have an amazing slate you can see of sponsors, which is incredible. Our Unity sponsor, Visit Greenville, has been huge for setting everything up for us. Platinum sponsors, Methodical Coffee in Rome, and you can see our gold sponsors, silver sponsors, too many to name. So we've made a lot of progress this last year on this event, and we're very excited about it. So without further ado, I guess, first speaker.
Ready for the first one? Come on. All right. So, our first speaker is none other than Mike Claudio. Mike is the founder of Win Rate Consulting and host of the Big Stud podcast. And we were trying to figure out who would be the right person to bring the right energy for the first talk on the first day during the first session.
Of 15 speakers.
Of 15 speakers for the day to set the tone. There was no one I would want more than Mike Claudio. So, give it up for him.
I believe we will face everything in reverence.
I believe that everyone in here can win. And I believe everybody can actually win. And I truly believe that so many people struggle with the self-belief to take the risk to go after the thing they said they've always wanted. It is very difficult in today's society and ecosystem to become somebody you've never been before, because there's so many reasons not to and so many things showing you that you shouldn't, that you should be scared, you should stop, you should hold back, you shouldn't go to that thing that you've always wanted. My name is Mike Claudio, and I am in the business of dealing belief. I do that as a husband, I do it as a father, I do it as a leader, I do it as an author, I do it as a podcaster, a YouTuber, but ultimately the two biggest things that I do to deliver belief to people is I coach high-performing CEOs, and I founded a nonprofit that puts shoes on underprivileged children throughout the country. Over the last 4 years, we've delivered over 8,000 pairs of shoes that we hand wrap, handwrite cards, and we deliver that new pair of shoes feeling. You know what that feeling like? Jump higher, run faster, become more than you ever imagined possible. And the amount of people that struggle with self-belief and believing that they can actually do the thing that their heart wants. I used to be one of those people. This is a picture from 2010 of me and my wife. That human lacked self-belief. Broken in a lot of ways, bankrupt in a lot of ways, emotionally, spiritually, physically. I was overweight, I was making bad decisions, I was not the person I wanted to be, but I didn't know how to get out of it. You ever been in one of those seasons where you're just stuck in what status quo is, and you're like, well, this is just life. This is just what I get. This is just who I am. This is just what I can be. And it stops you from taking action. And the truth is, belief that was dealt to me turned me into this person 15 years later. That journey was hard. It wasn't easy, but it wouldn't have been possible without belief. What I'm going to talk about here in a second is a formula that I believe everybody can take control of to go out and deal belief to somebody that needs it. I deal with two wild dichotomies of the economic scale. I deal with families and children who can't afford a new pair of shoes. Imagine that. You were like, which Jordans do I wear today? And I'm dealing with kids who have never had a pair of shoes that fit, new, name brand, I'll never forget one of my favorite stories from a Champion Shoes. We had a high school woman. This was a woman. She wore a men's 14 double wide shoe, and she lived in a tent in the hills of Kentucky. Belief for her was, how do I get anything? You can't just walk into a normal shoe store and buy 14 double wide shoes, nor can you afford them. And like the thought of what that woman went through was incredible and powerful, of what just the gift of a pair of shoes and a handwritten card, because we put a handwritten card in every pair of shoes that says, "We believe you are capable. Go be a champion." And the amount of people that I've run into that have never heard that, never been given that hope. And the opposite end of that dichotomy, I coach high-performing CEOs for a living. These are the millionaires, the guys that have everything, that appear on the outside as if they've accomplished the pinnacle of success, who walk around every day lacking self-belief. The interesting dichotomy of these two sides of the equation is the children and the families in poverty don't get to see hope. They don't get to see things. They don't get the information to know that there's more out there. They just believe that they're stuck in this generational poverty, and this is just what we have. On the contrary, these high performers with enough resources to do whatever they want deal with scarcity on a regular basis because of how social media gives us a highlight reel. I've been the person who doesn't have what they want. Not proud of their body, not proud of their stuff, the car you don't like, the house you don't like, the relationships you don't like. The problem is, not just social media, but marketing in general in our ecosystem teaches us that last year's version of what you have isn't good enough anymore. The Tide commercials that make us feel like we're supposed to be smiling while folding laundry. I don't know about you. I've never smiled folding laundry. The perfect vacations, the family photos, the fitness people, like, we are taught on a regular basis that who we are and what we have isn't enough. So why would we? Why would we risk it? Why would we go out? Why would we try to take the step off the ledge, not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing what's coming next, with so many things telling us we're not enough? So I built a formula. Belief and hope requires evidence. Evidence is the key factor in my experience and in my journey of what differentiates those who have it and those that don't. There's two types of evidence, in my opinion. There's belief from others. I am confident every person in this room can think of somebody who believed in them for no reason other than they just wanted to. And maybe it was the coach, maybe it was the teacher, maybe it was the aunt, the uncle, the grandparent, your parents, a friend, or a complete stranger. You ever have somebody that you didn't know look at you in your eyes with extreme authenticity and say, "Man, you got something, man. You got an edge, you got something different," and you believed it, maybe for the first time in your whole life? I think everybody has that person. And it requires belief in self. And belief in self is one of the hardest things to deliver. I don't know about you, but I know it is 1,000,000 times easier to believe in somebody else than to believe in yourself. To make a commitment to somebody else and follow through on it. I don't want to let them down, but we let ourselves down every day in our decision making. One of the biggest and strongest, and I believe only ways to build self-belief is to do what you said you were going to do for you. Your evidence. When you lay your head down at night, how did you show up for that day based on what your definition of winning looked like? We all have the ability to do both. And I promise you, you are capable of more than you ever imagined possible. 15 years ago, I was an alcoholic, overweight, broken human, and I had a vision of being on a TED stage. And I'm not special. I am a gifted communicator because I have practiced this thing every day for the last 20 years. But I'm not special. I'm not unique. I'm a normal human being who decided to take the belief from others, build belief in myself, and do it consistently over time, and that builds hope. And when you have hope, and you have an ability to say, I see it, I want it, and I know I can get it, you can accomplish anything you want. I tell the people I work with all the time, I can help you accomplish anything you want as soon as you can tell me what that is. I can't tell you what winning looks like to you. I can't tell you what successful relationships, or your body, or your finances, or your car, or your house, or your vacations, or whatever it is. But we all have the ability to start at the beginning of the formula. I deal in the business of belief by simply believing more in people than they believe in themselves. And it has changed lives. I'm somebody who needed somebody else to believe in me first before I could say, yeah, I can climb out of this hole. And if you do it over a long enough period of time and the evidence builds and the evidence builds and the evidence builds, I don't want to be cliche, but you can change the world. And nobody in here is a loser. You might not have the evidence to believe that you're winning right now, but when you're more likely to follow through on a commitment for somebody else than you are for yourself, you're letting yourself down. You're stealing the evidence that you can be trusted. You can trust you. And when you can trust you, what you can build yourself into can change everything. But I want to challenge you today. Everybody in this room right now is dealing with something. Everybody in this room right now is battling something. You don't know what that eye contact can do. You don't know what that, hey, I see you, keep going, can do. I challenge you to not miss an opportunity to believe in somebody for no other reason than they deserve it. And if you start dealing belief, I promise you it'll show back up. I promise you it'll change your life. Just because you're not winning right now doesn't mean that you can't change someone else's life. There's a lot of roles in all of our lives. I said it, husband, father, leader, athlete, podcaster, YouTuber, author. I promise you I'm not winning in all of those categories at any given time. But my belief in people helps people change the world. I would challenge you to become a dealer of belief. Thank you, guys.
I believe we gon' face everything we reference.
All right, amazing job, Mike. Kicking it off strong with our first TED Talk of the day. Hope everyone's feeling so great. Thank you for being here. Great to see you all. Congratulations to everyone on the TED team for being here and putting together such an amazing event. My name is Kay Ling. I am one of the speaker coaches for this year. I had the privilege of being on the stage last year and giving a talk of my own, which is why I'm so excited and impressed to introduce our next speaker. At only 17 years old, she founded her own TED Talk event. She's also the president of the Greenville County Youth Board and known in local publications as a teenage visionary. Her talk is on why teens should have a seat at the table, some advice on how to survive high school, how to survive life a little bit as well. Please give a warm welcome to the amazing Amanda De Leon.
The last time I was on a stage like this, I was giving an apology. It was January 24th, and me and a team of high schoolers were organizing the first TEDx youth event in upstate South Carolina, TEDx Five Forks Youth. We had been planning for 6 to 7 months with 15 change makers, 8 youth speakers, hundreds of emails, hundreds of Zoom meetings, all of it leading up to this moment. I remember waiting backstage excitedly, thinking to myself that all of these efforts that we'd been putting in would finally be recognized, and it would all finally be worth it. That is not at all how that day went. The very first thing that happened went completely wrong. Our opening video refused to work. It completely glitched out, and nobody really knew how to take care of it. On top of that, every single microphone in the venue decided to just stop working, suddenly. Amazing. And so right after that, I had to go up to this audience of 100, an audience just like this, projecting, basically yelling at them because I didn't have a working microphone, apologizing that we couldn't do better. And then after that, I had to go backstage and speak to my team while I was completely ashamed. And in that moment, I knew, oh yeah, I'm gonna be writing a TED Talk on this. Hi guys, my name is Amanda DeLeon, and I am a high school senior who has immersed myself in the youth stories and the youth leadership of our great city of Greenville. And as the founder of TEDx Five Forks Youth and a leader of other initiatives in our community, I've gotten to learn a thing or two about chaos. And especially in my roles, I've gotten to learn about the stories of our youth community and our high schoolers. The ones they share with me, the ones I help amplify, and the ones that I get to see in my everyday moments. From all of those stories, I have gotten to learn that high schoolers are learning to navigate a system that no one has ever taught them to map. And that's why I'm here. I've recently turned 18 years old, and I'm going to be graduating soon. I want to capture that world, the one that I'm going to be leaving soon, and I want to give you a glimpse into it, the misunderstood ecosystem of Greenville's youth and our leadership. And with that, I hope that today I can tell you what it really takes to survive high school and what those stories reveal about the futures of our community. High school is very often referred to as the best 4 years of your life. The way I've experienced it and that I've seen others experience it, I would call it the best 4 years of your life that you're never gonna wanna live again. Thank you, thank you. And for that reason, I say it because, yeah, for sure, we have prom and fun memories like football games and dances and dates, but inside of that, high schoolers, and especially this generation, are constantly stressed out. High school is draining. I swear, the #1 thing I hear the most often said from all of my classmates is either, oh my God, I'm so tired, or oh my gosh, I really wish I could go home. And you know what? Me too. I say all of those things too. But really what that shows is that stress and burnout in high school has gotten so normalized. And maybe it has something to do with the way that high school is today. Maybe it's because teenagers are growing up in a world that is constantly loud all the time. The rise of AI, new trends on social media every single day, new beauty expectations, the changing college landscape, all of this, and then within it, we have to find ourselves. That's what we're told. No wonder it is so easy to lose yourself in this period. No wonder the culture of adolescence itself has changed. Even me. Even in writing this talk, I second-guessed everything I was trying to say. I was scared that no matter how passionate or how accurate my message was, I would be standing up here and having you all look at me, thinking that I'm just another basic teenager, thinking that my message might be too simple, too boring. I was so scared, in fact, I didn't even write this speech until last week. And that was a lie. I actually didn't finish writing this speech until last night and memorized it this morning, so I would call that the high school way. But yeah. But either way, what I would say about that mindset and that doubt is really that it's an indication of the secret systems that we have dictating not only this high school experience, but the human experience. I like to call them currencies. If you're a high schooler, common currencies are usually grades, extracurriculars, popularity, beauty standards, things like that. What it is really is it's the unspoken economy that every single one of us plays into. And within that unspoken economy, it's so easy to look at yourself and say that you're not enough. Let's say, for example, you're an ambitious student and you're hoping to get into your top choice college. Without knowing what colleges are looking for or what the standard for what impressive really looks like, you're going to be looking to the people around you to see how you should be looking at yourself. And that's when you start to look at your peers, see how they succeeded, how they failed, how you can change. Because really, if you're not the best at your high school, what college is going to choose you? If you're not the prettiest in your friend group, what person is going to date you? And all of it, it looks like ambition. To be chasing these ideals of success, but really what it is it's debt. When you get attached to this expectation of what value looks like, you start to think you're not good enough. And that's when high school becomes something to survive and not something to live. That's when currency becomes identity. But I swear that within all of these currencies and chaos, there is still hope. In TEDx Five Forks Youth, co-organizers talk all the time about how there are so many stresses in high school, so many stresses in work and college. But despite all those stresses, they show up to our meetings every single day. They show up for the community that we're dedicated to, for the vision that we're trying to create. On top of that, they're creating new things. I know so many teenagers who have started nonprofits, who are volunteering on the weekends. And it's because they all see that there's something tangible that they can chase after for their future, that there's a better future, one where the world is better, one where they can look in the mirror and see themselves as somebody that they can accept. That ambition and that striving, that's exactly what I admire most. And it's good to know, whether you're in high school or just on a self-growth journey, that everyone is experiencing their own chaos, yet everyone is united by their desire to find themselves within it. So, the question is now, with all of these currencies and all of this chaos, how do you find yourself in high school? The truth is, any journey, especially high school, it's going to remain confusing and exhausting if you don't realize that this journey was never about currencies in the first place. It was about shaping those 4 years into what you need them to be. That means, from my opinion, becoming a professional storyteller. That's my advice to you. Let's try to imagine yourself graduating. Or if you're not a high schooler, imagine yourself 10 years from now, probably just looking back on your life. What sticks with you? Was it the countless all-nighters that you pulled to be studying for those tests, never making friends? Was it the regrets on the other hand? The regrets that you know you could have done better, that there were opportunities that you didn't chase? Either way, if your answer to what is going to stick with you is something negative, then you should be taking control over your narrative instead. So that's what I mean by becoming your own professional storyteller, writing your own chapters. Think about the past that has led you to become the character that you are today. Think about and decide what you want this moment, this present 4 years to play, what role they should play in the overall journey that you're trying to live. Think about what lessons you want to take away, what lessons you want to leave behind. In trying to figure out what high schoolers think about reshaping their journey, I interviewed a few of my classmates, and one of my classmates shared with me her story. She told me how in 9th grade, her currency was grades. She would work every single day tirelessly to try and get those A's, and that also meant for her that she had to deny the opportunities that she wished she could have had, and deny the memories that she wishes she could have made. So, in her senior to junior year, she finally looked back at her story and finally realized that when she leaves, she wants to remember much more than all of those all-nighters. So what she did was she used her vision to propel her to pick those experiences. She got involved in things like theater and dance, tutoring kids and internships, and now she says she's proud that she can look back at her story and know it's something that she's proud that she has written. That is the power of storytelling. And that is what I invite all of you to do as well. Because when you trade your currencies for personal goals, you become a leader and a change maker in your own right. And whether you're a high schooler or not a high schooler, it's so important to know that the reward of self-authorship is that you can find the meaning in any experience, and you can use that meaning to propel you to keep writing. I have been talking a lot about authenticity and stories and messaging. I would feel it inauthentic to my story if I didn't tell you the message I've been trying to promote for the past 4 years. My most favorite thing about the high school journey is the potential that youth grow within it, and how that potential, the story that they build within themselves, ignoring the chaos outside of them, can really consequently change the communities that surround them. My conviction is this: the youth community in Greenville, they are not future leaders. They already are leaders. That's why, as a high schooler standing in front of you today, I know, yes, I might be the only high schooler you're going to see on this stage, but that doesn't mean that I'm the only one. In fact, understand that I am one of many change makers. There is so much ambition and initiative and drive that I have seen within this community. We are starting nonprofits, we are building businesses, we are addressing civic issues that so many people choose to ignore, and yet it is so difficult to get the resources we need to expand those visions. It is so difficult to gain the recognition and the support from adult leaders in Greenville. I think that as much as Greenville tries to pride itself on innovation and new opportunities, we cannot continue to grow if we ignore the most obvious source of that innovation: the youth community that are already transforming our city with their ideas. So I'm not asking for just mere acknowledgement. I'm asking you to give us the trust that comes with that responsibility. Let me take you back to the day of TEDx Five Forks Youth. After I had given my apology to the audience, we sent up our first youth speaker without a microphone. I was running around between the sound booth and the co-organizers trying to figure out what was going on with our technical difficulties. But in the midst of all of that chaos, I looked up. I looked up and saw our youth speaker. His voice, clear and captivating, resounding, tear-jerking stories with hilarious jokes. And I saw our audience leaning forward in their seats, clinging on to every word. In that moment, our youth speakers, their compelling stories and innovative ideas were being heard by our community for the first time. And because of a simple idea I had, I was able to be a part of that exchange. Because I saw the meaning in that moment, I come away from TEDx Five Forks Youth not with the mindset of all of the hardships that occurred, but rather by knowing that we had so much impact. We were able to tell the stories of those whose stories had not been told before. We were able to help those students write their stories and continue doing what excited them most. And most of all, that opportunity has brought me to this stage, to you, to extend that message. And that is truly the heart of this message. When you give youth the platforms that were previously only occupied by adults, they will thrive. And the entire message I want to give to you in a few sentences is this: that when a high schooler begins to reframe their experiences, they can write their own narratives. And when those narratives are heard, the communities that choose to hear them are forever changed. And that's my hope, that for Greenville, that someday, no, not even someday, that today, we begin to expand those spaces that were previously only occupied by adults for our youth. Because we all play a part in writing the narratives in the future we all share. Thank you.
Well, that was awesome. I mean, pretty incredible, pretty incredible. And we've had a very energetic session to start. Our next speaker, JD Slackert, is a good friend of mine and somebody who was a previous kind of one of our TED alums. He helped host last year TEDx Unity Park when we were at the Kroc Center. He is a best-selling author of his book, Moonflower, which he's going to go into a little bit tonight. Emmy-nominated creator of Luke Strong Beyond the Sport. He was just nominated for an Emmy. Pretty awesome. That just happened. He's a speaker for many NBA teams, including the Los Angeles Lakers, Fortune 500 companies, and beyond. He's also a spokesperson for the American Red Cross, and like I mentioned, a returning voice to our TEDx stage. His title of his talk is How Handwriting Can Save Your Life. And I think making it personal for me, it's very cool to hear his journey. And we actually share a connection that he's going to talk about tonight back in our time in LA. So please put your hands together for JD Seikert.
Did you ever want it? Did you want it back? Oh, my. Tears me apart.
I never wrote any of my own papers in college. I always managed some sort of shortcut or backdoor or other exit out of it until one day I was finally caught. I had this writing teacher named Maishi Bernstein in college, and now everyone feared Maishi's class because he made you handwrite every single thing in his class. And I'll never forget this. On the first day of his class, he had written up on the board, "Write about what you know." Write about what you know. And at this point in my life, I really didn't seem to know much of a whole lot. But I turned in this essay to him, and he called me into his office to speak with him after. And as I was sweating, sitting there, nervous, he looked at me and said, "JD, you didn't write this." So I started talking quicker and quicker, trying to explain myself, make up some excuse. And as I was continuing to trip over myself, he stopped me and he said, no, JD, what I mean is you didn't write this, you typed it. Now, I'm going to backtrack a little bit before I ever got into this writing class and talk about the story that not only landed me there that day, but has actually landed me here in front of all of you right now and really shaped my entire existence as a person. Growing up in Los Angeles, California, I was a basketball player. And basketball was my entire identity, and it was pretty much the only thing I cared about, and the only person I really cared about was myself. I was selfish, cocky, self-centered, and focused on what was going on in my life. When after one of my high school games, this little girl who I'd never met before came up to me and said, "Hey, my little brother wants to meet you and play a game of basketball with you." And so I sort of stopped her and said, "Sure, I'll get around to it when I can. I'm pretty busy. I'm a pretty big deal. I don't know if you knew that." And she said, "No, it has to happen next week." And I said, "Why is that?" And she said, "Because my little brother Luke is only 6 years old, and he has something called sickle cell disease. And the last thing that he wants to do before he has to go into the hospital for a full year of isolation for a bone marrow transplant is meet you and play a game of basketball with you." Now, it is said that in life, when the student is ready, the teacher shall appear. And I had no idea that in my life, my greatest teacher would be a little 6-year-old boy with sickle cell disease. So I got together with Luke, and we played this game of basketball, and although he was about this tall, and I'm about this tall, he talked all this trash to me. Right, exactly. About how weak my left hand was, about how he couldn't believe I was so tall and I didn't dunk it more, how if I hadn't missed that layup in the game last night, I would have had 25 points instead of 23, and it was like non-stop. Yeah, true story. But what was so grabbing to me immediately in meeting Luke was for such a young kid, the confidence, the personality, but also how much he knew about me in my life, every school that was recruiting me, all the things going on in my world. And I really did learn right away he was my biggest fan. So I threw Luke up on my shoulders at the end of the day, and we took this photo together, and he went his way and I went mine, and that was it. A few months went by, and I had this pulling thought to go and tell Luke about the news that I just committed to playing college and would be continuing my college basketball career. So I drove down to Children's Hospital, Los Angeles, and I got in touch with Luke's father, and I met him in the hospital waiting room for the first time. He let me know, "JD, Luke hasn't been feeling very well lately. His bone marrow transplant's been really difficult, and he hasn't been able to get out of bed in weeks. And when I got in that elevator, and I went up to that 4th floor, and those doors opened, and I saw all of the other sick little kids in isolation, some even younger than Luke. My heart sank in my chest, and I couldn't believe the horror, the tragedy that so many young lives were facing. A healthy man wants 1,000 things, while a sick man wants only one. When Confucius said that, I think the idea really means that all of our lives, we think we have so many things going on, so many things we take for granted, when having our health and the opportunity to go and live is such a blessing. And I know for me, as I walked through that hospital, as I looked into the eyes of all of these kids, I thought to myself, the last thing any of these kids want to do is have to wake up in a hospital every day, and that's the only thing they're thinking about. But when I got to Luke's hospital room, I could see into his room before he could see me, and he had one single photo over his bed. And it wasn't a photo of me, it wasn't a photo of Luke and Matt Kemp, and it wasn't a photo of Luke and Steph Curry, and it wasn't a photo of Luke and Kevin Durant, but it was that photo of me and Luke the day we met and played basketball together. Luke being held by that cocky, selfish, self-centered, loud redhead. And I sort of felt this overwhelming amount of guilt and grief, thinking that I'd tricked this kid into thinking I was somebody, making him believe I was worthy of that praise and adulation, and I didn't think I deserved that. But I said in that moment, looking at that photo of me and him over his hospital bed, that I would do everything I could in my life to become that person one day. And as I walked over to Luke's hospital room, he saw me, and he lit up with the biggest smile I've ever seen in my life. And with all the strength he had in his body, he pushed himself out of bed, and with more IVs and monitors and things going through him, he walked up to the glass window that separated me and him, and he put his little hand up to it, and I put up mine, and I swear I'd never felt closer to someone in my entire life. Luke would make it out of the hospital, and he would come to watch me play in college, and we would eat pizza together, his favorite food, and we would celebrate birthdays together, and those next few years were some of the best years of my life, but Luke didn't have much longer with us. On September 14th, 2016, at the age of only 10 years old, Luke Bodden passed away from a stroke, and I was devastated. Luke's parents asked me to speak at his funeral, and I wanted so badly to meet this moment to share some of the memories and stories about Luke in his honor. So day and night, I worked hard trying to memorize all of the things that I wanted to impart to this audience of people that knew Luke and memorialize him in this powerful way. And when I got to that church that day, and I did everything I could to make my way up to that stage, when I looked out into that crowd, I saw all of Luke's little friends. And I just broke down in tears. I rained down tears, and I could barely get a word out, and I mumbled and I stuttered, and I was hardly able to say anything articulate. And I was so disappointed in myself for not being able to meet this moment. When I got back to my seat, and with my head between my knees, it was Luke's doctor that came up to me and he said, "You know, JD, there was really only one thing wrong with your speech today. The only thing wrong with your speech was that the entire world couldn't have been inside of this church to hear that story." Write about what you know. What I know is that Luke never complained. He was grateful even for his worst days. And he represented unity more than any person I've ever met in my entire life. What I know is that the last 2 words Luke ever told me in his whole life were to smile more. I write only because there is a voice within me that will not be stilled. Sylvia Plath says this, and I had no idea what was going on in my life after Luke passed away, but I knew his voice was somewhere inside me willing me to keep going, to share our story, to find a different way forward. Hemingway also says, there is nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at your typewriter and bleed. And that is exactly what I would go on to do. Day and night, I would sit down and decide, rather than typing the story of me and Luke, I would handwrite it. Hour by hour, minute by minute, day by day, week by week, month by month. I didn't tell a single person I was writing a story until I was finished. And I handwrote a 400-page book inspired by my friendship with Luke, a book that I'm holding right now. When I completed this, I wasn't really sure what to do with it, but I could only think of really one person that might be able to help me in terms of next steps and figure out where to go. So I got in touch with that famed, notorious arch nemesis of mine, Maishi Bernstein, once again. And I gave him a call, and we got together in this coffee shop, and when I walked into that coffee house, he sort of just looked at me and said, "You?" And I said, "Yes, me again." And with the same hand that I met Luke at that hospital window, I handed him this book. A few weeks later, we get a call from Maishi, and he told me, "JD, I think this is the best book I've ever read in my life." Maishi would be right by my side through the entire publishing process, helping me get an agent, a cover designer, a publicist. And on September 14, 2018, on the 2-year anniversary of Luke's passing and the same year I graduated from college, my debut novel, Moonflower, was published. And what would happen next was just a bit of magic. I would go on to become a partner with NMDP. We are now working on a documentary about this story. This past summer, the story of Luke and I was nominated for an Emmy Award. I've gone on to travel the country telling the story of me and Luke to audiences everywhere. I was even invited by LeBron James' production company to speak to his entire staff about this story. And in 2024, I was invited to speak at what would have been Luke's high school graduation to address all of those same little kids that grew up with him as they were now being sent off to college. And most importantly, and what I'm most proud of to share with you all, is that Luke's family and I have never been closer than we are today. And we've gone on to start something called the Luke Strong Foundation, which is a nonprofit that supports children that are diagnosed with sickle cell disease. And we are one of the largest nonprofits in the world doing the work that we do today. Now, you are all writers. Whether you realize it or not, you write every single day. And some of you may even be writing books yourselves. But you write texts, emails, notes to friends, goals you want to achieve. And I'm here to tell you that rather than typing those things first, consider perhaps handwriting them. In 2007 at Dominican University, there was a study done that showed that those that handwrite down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them versus those that do not. Handwriting your goals adds this level of accountability that typing simply just does not have. And in 2015, there was a study done in Germany amongst preschool students where they taught half of the room by type notes and the other half by handwritten. And they showed in every single category that the students that learned from handwritten notes outperformed those taught by typed notes. I have 3 really simple lessons I would love for you all to take away and why I'm such a big advocate for handwriting. Number 1, it takes you away from technology. Technology, as we all know, is a constant distraction in our lives and something that can take away our focus from what we're really doing and the task at hand. And for me, it was incredibly meditative and a cathartic experience, which helped me write my first book, Moonflower. Number 2, it allows you to physically see your progress, feel it. It has a tangible thing that you can touch and hold, and you can flip page after page and see all of the things that you've written, where it's not just a blinking screen that's popping up in front of you. And the third and final lesson is simply momentum. So often in life, we want to be perfectionists. We want to go back and rework and re-edit whatever it is that we've just written. But when you're handwriting, that's not so easy. You have to keep moving forward and following that page after page after page. And that's exactly why I feel I was able to accomplish my lifelong dream of writing a book. Martin Luther says that if you want to change the world, you must first pick up your pen and write. If it weren't for handwriting, I would have never been able to bring the story of me and Luke to life. So in all of your own lives, I want you to think about not just what it is you want to achieve or the goals you want to do, but think about your own stories, the experiences you've lived through, the Lukes in your lives, the people that have boosted you up and made you feel like you are something, because we all are so lucky to have those types of people around us. And when it comes to telling their story, think about what it is that you know. Think about what it is that they've taught you. And I hope you all will consider handwriting it, because the stories of all of your lives are much too important to be typed. Thank you.
Did you ever want it? Did you want?
Hey everyone. What a powerful story, JD. Wow. My name is Sam Blumen, and I've had the pleasure of serving as the Director of Partnerships for this inspiring event. Our next speaker, Sam Sokolow, is a two-time Emmy-nominated TV and film producer. He's executive producer of the series Genius on Disney Plus and National Geographic, featuring icons like Albert Einstein and Pablo Picasso. Today, he's a professor of practice at Clemson University's World Cinema program, where he is a strong advocate for the film ecosystem here in the upstate. I personally witnessed Sam in his element on set at Clemson this summer, actually, where he brought in world-class talent to work alongside students to create a full-length feature film. Along with all the accolades Greenville has already been getting, I predict we'll be looking at some national film and TV awards here in the near future. Today, Sam will tell us why filmmaking is the most human industry and how Greenville already has the ingredients to become a film hub. Please join me in welcoming Sam Sokolow.
Howdy. Welcome. Thank you all for taking the time to come join us. My name is Sam, and I make movies. And I am here to talk to you about why Greenville is such an exciting place to make movies, and why it is ready to go up in weight class in the filmmaking industry department, and why it belongs here, okay? So we're going to talk about a few things to support that idea. But the number one thing that I want to say, so everything sort of filters through that as I talk, is that for 160 plus years, Greenville, South Carolina, has been one of the great manufacturing centers in the entire world. Textiles, computer parts, now cars, BMW, Michelin. I mean, it's really amazing that these enormous companies know that if they want to make their product today in the best way, in the best place, with the best people, they come to Greenville, right? So now, understand that movies, making a movie, is a manufacturing endeavor, okay? It's a manufacturing endeavor. So if you think about, let's say, BMW, there are, designers, and they're brilliant and creative, and they know how to take what a car can be and create something really cool that people want to drive. But designers don't make cars. The crews make cars. The assembly line makes the car. And it's the same with movies. Directors are thought of, rightly so, as creative geniuses and visionaries. And you know their names, from Steven Spielberg to Greta Gerwig and these amazing filmmakers. But directors don't make movies. Crews make movies. Skilled laborers make movies. Directors have vision. We all serve that vision in the same way people at BMW serve the car designer's vision. But movies are made by construction workers and seamstresses and camera people and electricians who hang lights and food services people that fuel the crew while they work the day. It is literally an assembly line. And different things come off the assembly line, right? So you can program it in a way with a certain kind of costume and a certain kind of music and a certain kind of actor, and have a horror movie. Or you can program it with a certain kind of actor and sound and all this and come out with a thriller. But they're all made the exact same way. Okay, so somebody real quick, just somebody yell out a movie you like. Great, The Matrix. Cool, right? Somebody now yell out a movie you didn't like, and it's okay. Bang, joins the majority, Waterworld. Great movie not to like. So what does The Matrix and Waterworld have in common? Exactly what I just said. They were made the exact same way, just with some different stuff. But the process of a script being written, it being broken down into a schedule and a budget and something to be executed by highly, highly skilled people that ultimately gets delivered out the other end, that's movie making. And innovation is not always reinventing the assembly line. Sometimes innovation is knowing where to build the assembly line and when to begin with. And right now, Greenville, South Carolina is a simply awesome place to make movies. It might not be making a lot of movies just yet, but movies are being made here, make no mistake. I've been here for about 2 years, and what I arrived to was really inspiring. I did not come here to make movies. Let me be clear. I came here for the best reason in the world. I came here for love. I came here because my wife is from Gaffney, right up the road, and it was time to move home. So we came. And first of all, I'm just so happy I did. Greenville's awesome. Incredible place. But when I got here, I found a community of artists and technical workers that wanted to make movies, that were making movies, that had the desire to do it. And then this, when you do things for love, right, the right miracles happen. And I got offered this incredible opportunity to help build the production side of the Clemson University Film School. So they have a really good film theory side already. Watch movies, write papers, understand the language, right? If you can't make a blueprint, you can't really build a house. So, they had that, but they didn't have production. So I started the production department. And it gave me an opportunity, frankly, to kind of kick the tires on everything around here. See what was possible, see who was around, and also gauge the interest and capacity of these students. And let me tell you something, they're amazing. Amazing. They are so passionate, so smart, so driven, so talented. And so what separates people that are driven, talented, and passionate from their successes often in life? Education and opportunity. It's kind of like that in any business. So at Clemson, we decided to really, lean into the education part so that we could create opportunity here and create kind of an ecosystem where we make films. And we make films by controlling the means of production from start to finish, okay? So basically, you need 3 things, okay, to have a kind of happening movie community, all right? The first thing that you need is you need state support. You need government support. We got it. The South Carolina Film Commission has a tax incentive. It's really terrific. Matt Storm, that runs the commission, is an awesome guy. He's here to support. He's here to help. So the state is providing the opportunity for film crews to work here in an economically competitive environment, and that's huge. Second thing that you need are storytellers. Well, we're in the South. You're all storytellers. Everybody's a storyteller. I married a Southern storyteller, and I have seen that young lady from Gaffney perform on Broadway stages at the Hollywood Bowl, be in TV shows like Modern Family, write for TV shows like Netflix. So while, of course, I think she's really special, there's got to be more down here, right? So we're finding them. And then the third thing that you need is the workforce, the crew. A crew that can make films at the highest level. Not just make a movie, make a great movie. And they're here, and we're training them. And that's what we're doing at Clemson. And other awesome institutions around here in the upstate have great film programs as well. But at Clemson, we're doing it. And let me kind of philosophically tell you how we're doing it, right? Anybody here ever see a Clemson football game? Okay, maybe one person, right, okay. So you know how kind of the Clemson football team, like they really play football. You know, they don't play two-hand touch on Saturday. They play in front of 80,000 people on national TV. They are preparing those student athletes to play in the NFL. For real. Show up the next day and be Dexter Lawrence, and now you're on my belovedly horrible New York Giants. But he's in the NFL, okay? So he didn't learn how to be in the NFL after college. He learned it in college. So that's what we're doing at Clemson. Just to talk about that for a second, we are training these students at the very highest level that you can be trained to work in film and television production. To accomplish that, one quick anecdote, in June of this past year, we made a feature film at Clemson that Sam referenced. We had 20 students working on the crew. We had 18 students in the cast. They were not running around getting coffee. They were setting lights. They were setting art. They were running the cameras. They were making the film under the tutelage of some wonderful people that were both local and that we brought in from Atlanta, New York, LA. The goal is to eventually not bring anybody ever in from anywhere except here as we train these crews up and bring them up in weight class to make the films here. But these kids are already working on other people's movies. They know what to do because they did it. They did it at a real level, which is, you know, when you watch kids play football, you're like, oh, that's tough. 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, 3 straight weeks. They showed up every day. They worked for 12 hours a day, and they made a film. You cannot recreate that. You can't teach that in a classroom. So that experiential learning is a really exciting part of how we're developing the crew side of that three-legged stool. We've already gotten the grant to do another movie next summer. The movie we made will be coming out next year. And these young people will be getting their first credit, like a real movie, and graduating with that, which is awesome. But back to Greenville, we're now satisfying that very hard part of developing really, really high-end world-class crew to work on these films. So we have the three things in place, right? Now let me tell you how Hollywood is helping us. It's broken, completely, okay? You hear about it because they have the megaphone. Everybody's leaving LA. Coming to places like this. Maybe not to do the work, but when I got here, I saw that the work was possible. Because the type of assembly line that we want to build here, the type of manufacturing, at least that we're building here now, is to satisfy an entire lane that is underserved in the global media business. This is important to know that this is there. This is a real marketplace. This isn't an arts and crafts project. This is a major business, and a business that is huge, and a business that will be here for the next century and beyond. Media is not going anywhere, okay? So Hollywood's broken. Here's how, in the most basic terms. It has sort of gone with globalization and streaming into making the biggest tentpole movies they can make, competing with more expensive movies and more technology and building a bigger roller coaster ride, which is why you go to the movie theater and there's Spider-Man 9 and Star Wars 11 and Spider-Man 10 next week, and it feels like this roller coaster ride that they're constantly putting you on, and they are. They're competing to do bigger things, and as they do that, they're looking to take those projects and put them in places that are the best value, of course. So you might have heard, if not, you could Google it. Marvel left Atlanta. They're all now in the UK because the UK offered them a 50% tax incentive instead of 30. Well, if you're making a $200 million movie, that's 40 million bucks. Buys a lot of plane tickets and hotel rooms in the UK for everybody to go there. But Atlanta suffers. So being in the service business where you're just bringing in outside stuff, you know, that's volatile. But what Hollywood's left behind are the under $10 million movie. The movie that could be made at a cost in an intelligent way with a really high-end crew, with great talent, with amazing people, in a place that people want to live and raise their families and live like Greenville, right? And when I talk about the under $10 million movie, I don't want you to think that I'm just picking something out of thin air that's hyperbole, okay? 4 of the most recent Best Picture winners of the Oscars, Anora, Moonlight, Nomadland, and Coda. Those are movies that were made for under $10 million independently outside of the studio system east of the Mississippi. And then they rode into the amazing distribution, global amazing technology that we have right now, because there's only one market, right? Some of you, I am, may be old enough to remember when a movie would premiere and then slowly make its way across the country and then slowly make its way to Europe and wherever. Well, we only live in one market now, the world, right now. We make our film, we put it out on certain platforms, and the entire planet will see it at once. What's really cool about that also is we're getting great stuff from elsewhere. We're getting films from around the world. Stories, ultimately, I do believe, are what bind us. They're such a part of our humanity, right? As I kind of joke, you know, there are old cave people that went out and killed dinosaurs, and then there were cave people that guarded the cave, and then there were people in the back drawing on the wall. I draw on the wall, right? And a lot of people draw on the wall because we need entertainment. We do, and we learn by stories, and we feel by stories. And when doctors try to explain things to you, they tell you a story. When entrepreneurs try to explain things, they tell you a story. When your pastor tries to explain something meaningful to you, it's usually through a sermon that's story-filled, because stories are what really capture us and bind us. A lot easier for most, at least like me, than statistics and such. So having a storytelling industry in a place where you can tell authentic, meaningful human stories at a price point with support and a great crew and great storytellers, it is a recipe for success. Truly, it's not that complicated. And I go back to those pillars because ultimately the workforce of Greenville is the best workforce in the entire world. It really is. These young people that I'm working with at Clemson, they blow me out of the water every single day with how smart and driven and talented they are. And with education and opportunity, the sky is the limit. And by controlling it from stem to stern, Greenville can really thrive in this. The last thing I'll say about it is that movies are force multipliers, okay? The success of a film comes in many, many, many ways. One of those ways, like if you kind of just think about, it cost this, it made this, right. But tourism, as one example, okay? Media tourism. The #1 tourist attraction right now still in Croatia is the Game of Thrones tour. I'm friends with the film commissioner of Moab, Utah. They're still selling hotel rooms and making money because people want to go see where Thelma and Louise went off the cliff. I'm not kidding. I'm not. It's kind of remarkable. And anybody see The Joker? Right? So you remember when Joaquin Phoenix is like coming down the stairs singing and everything? That stairwell now has a 1-hour line to walk up it every day. So Joaquin Phoenix won an Oscar. But you know who really won? The coffee shop on that block. For real. So the benefits of making films are vast. The lifestyle here in Greenville is awesome. And making movies is really great, and it is something that I know there's an industry here. We're already doing it, right? I mean, we've opened up a company here. We're going to be making films here. We're making our next film at Clemson. If you're interested in this, here's what you can do, okay? If you want to be a part of the filmmaking process, reach out, find us, find me, find my partner. There are classes you can take. There are things you can do online. These are translatable skills, right? We don't teach somebody how to be a carpenter because they want to be in the movie business. We take carpenters, put them in the movie business. If you're an accountant, you don't have to be a CPA, by the way, to be a production accountant. You can understand how production accounting works, take that acumen, come be an accountant on a movie. High-paying jobs. Last thing, you know what's great about movies? As a product, they don't need gas. You don't have to clean them. They don't need a staff. They make money forever, ever, right? Casablanca's making money right now. Someone. So these also are revenue streams that will maintain and exist over time. And when you make films intelligently, at a cost, in a place like this where you can really do it what I would consider right, you can share some equity with everybody working on it. So we all win. The city wins, the community wins, the value of the product and the values of the people in the community travel with the film. So that's one way. Another way you can help or just be involved is if you see cameras and you see streets that might be blocked or someone, be kind. You know, don't be like, oh my God, they're shooting a movie. Be like, they're shooting a movie. This is awesome. They're bringing Greenville out there. These are our people working and doing it, right? So support it at that level, which would be awesome. And then most important, watch the stuff that gets made here because we need audiences, right? That's the whole relationship. So if you really just think about it again as a manufacturing endeavor, not a pixie dust, you know, movie star thing. Think about it as a fundamentally intelligent thing to manufacture and distribute out in the world. There's very few places as terrific to make movies right now as Greenville. And this business is going to happen here, and it's going to grow here, and it's going to thrive here. And we're really excited to be a part of it. There's a lot of different people that are doing it here. We're all going to go up together, and Greenville's going to come up with us. So as we say on set, every time we're about to do a take or, you know, make a shot happen, action. So this is the time for action. Thank you very much.
Well, that was wonderful. We have one more speaker for you guys, and it's a privilege for me to introduce Brian Davis to you all. Brian has made a massive impact on this community. I'm going to tell you a few of the ways, and you'll see we got a prop for him. He's the executive director at the Hill Institute at Furman, a mentor to over 650 founders and startups. It's a lot. It's a lot. People don't always know that that's happening here. Brian's a huge force for that. He's a Forbes contributor and business council member. He's on the Palmetto Power list of influential South Carolina leaders, and he's the builder of Southeast startup ecosystems all over here. If you've not heard of Brian before, you will after today. His talk title is What If the Next Silicon Valley Has Sweet Tea? You're going to hear a little bit more about that. Thank you guys for everything. Introducing Brian Davis.
Toast to a little bit of chicken fried. Cold beer on Friday night. A pair of jeans that fit just right. And the radio, but like to see sunrise.
I spent most of my life not believing the main point that I'm trying to make today. But what if the next big thing was sitting right in our front porch? So I'm born and raised in the South. And when I was 6 years old, I launched my first venture, along with my brother and sister who are here today. And we built a putt-putt course in our backyard, violated all kinds of HOA rules. And we would charge kids from around the neighborhood to come play around a putt-putt. Pine Acres Putt-Putt was the name. And when they get there, we'd upsell them with brownies and lemonade. My mom literally found the old sign that we had created from decades ago. True story, we had 12 holes, not 18. Like, I don't know if we ran out of room or if we didn't know you were supposed to have 18, but we had 12. We were also ahead of our time and closed on Sunday, very Chick-fil-A of us. And we had a pretty abnormal set of hours. But somehow, at the end of that first summer, y'all, we made 75 bucks. So like in kid terms, in the late 80s, if you had told me that we had just made $1 million, I would have been like, I know. You know, like, I can hook you up, right? And I wouldn't have said it like this at the time, but that was my conversion moment. So Jesus came later, thankfully, but for entrepreneurship, I was like, this is cool. I like the feel of it. I love building, creating. I didn't put words to it like that at the time. But what I did do is, as I started growing up, I started believing the same thing that pretty much everybody around here and around me who was interested in innovation and entrepreneurship started believing. I believed real innovation, real entrepreneurship lived somewhere else that was further west. Like if you had told 17-year-old Brian that the next big thing, that Greenville, my hometown, was going to be an emerging innovation and entrepreneurship hub, I would have pulled out my giant Nokia and straight T9 texted you laughing emojis. Like I accepted that the next big thing was anywhere but the South until something extremely ordinary happened. I started living in the middle of it all, y'all. I've launched companies here. I've failed at companies here. I've launched an innovation office inside of a huge health system. I've launched an entrepreneurship institute inside of a top-ranked university. And over the past 15 years or so, I've sat around the table around 650 or so different startups, which means I know how to mess things up. I've even launched 6 tiny little humans into this world together with my wife. And those might be the most complex ones. But that's not a throwaway point either. That's kind of part of my point, right? Entrepreneurs who want it all can have it right here. Like you can do all the things. And through all this, I started to see things that shifted my perspective. Like I've spent time in Silicon Valley. I've spent a little time in Boston, New York. But you know what I spend time doing just about every week? Grabbing a coffee with somebody who chose to move themselves here from Silicon Valley, Boston, New York. There was one I got to know recently from New York, and she came here and is launching her tech business here. And her comment on the dynamics of doing business here were gold, total gold. She goes, you're only 2 handshakes away from whatever you need here. Like, when you cross the Mason-Dixon line, that needs to be on a billboard somewhere. Like, welcome to the South. And so, like, this started to make me say, maybe I've been looking at this wrong. Like, maybe one of the most underestimated regions in America is actually becoming one of the most powerful in innovation and entrepreneurship, and kind of been hiding in plain sight. So I want to make sure I'm not just drinking my own sweet tea, right? So anybody heard of a Coke or Coke-branded product? Shopped at Publix, ate at Chick-fil-A, Epic Games, MailChimp, like I could go on. Played around at Pine Acres Putt-Putt, right? It wasn't a great experience. But what I would say is that there are data points showing that I'm not just full of my own sweet tea. Let's talk about venture capital. How's that showing up? Over the past 4 years, Southern startups have more than doubled the amount of venture capital that they're capturing. We now account for a little over 20% of all venture capital deployed in the entire nation. That's pretty cool. What about job growth, economic prosperity? So you want to make a wild guess for where 2/3 of all job growth has happened over the past 4 to 5 years in the entire nation? California. I'm just kidding. That was a terrible, shouldn't be funny. But the South, y'all. That's happened in the South. And to put an exclamation mark on that one, there are 193 countries in the world, according to the UN. If you were to just take the collective economies of Atlanta, of upstate South Carolina, of Charlotte, we'd be bigger than 170 of the countries in the world. That's nuts. That's totally nuts, right? But I want to stop because I don't want to frame this in the wrong way and mislead you on the point I'm really trying to make. Like, this isn't just a metrics or catching up thing. I'm not literally saying that we are becoming and building Silicon Valley. That's not my point. I think we're building something different and something maybe a little better. I think it's something that maybe a story would help with. So there's a founder here locally. I'm going to call him Peter Barth, because that's his name. And Peter, if you're watching, love you, man. But the story, he grew the most successful coding school in the world from right here. And one day, one of his investors was flying in from a different part of the country. And it's a gorgeous day in Greenville. And they decided to meet downtown and have lunch down there. And they're sitting outside. And in the background, there are people walking, perfectly groomed dogs, families, beautiful families getting ice cream with the kids, successful first dates happening in real time, like all this stuff that's just there. And his investor literally stopped eating, looked in at Peter and asked with 100% seriousness, "Are these actors?" Like, literally, are these actors? Because it looked like a Hallmark movie. But like, no, people want to live here. That's the reality. There was an investor a few years ago who walked me through a detailed spreadsheet analyzing the best places to live in the US. My hometown, Greenville, popped out as that answer, which, for the record, made me feel really awesome about Greenville and super embarrassed at the amount of diligence I've put in some pretty big life decisions before in my life. But the point is, investors, founders, families, they're no longer seeing the South as this secondary market. Like, it's the market. And it makes sense. We've got all this type of capital clicking on all cylinders. Intellectual capital, social capital, financial capital, top-tier universities cranking out top-tier talent, solving real problems, deep trust-based communities where collaboration actually means something. You're 2 handshakes away from whatever you need. Financial capital, it's finally showing up and betting big on what's next. So it leads me to say, like, maybe the future of entrepreneurship won't leave you looking west, won't leave the next Brian looking west, right? And I want to bring this home with you on something, but to do that, you're going to come into a journey with me, okay? We are going to become a startup together. And I'm going to intentionally pick a brand that we would all kind of know the story of, right? So I'm going to say we're going to become Airbnb. You ready? And this is how the journey goes. You and I are now living in an apartment in San Francisco, and we have a problem that probably other people there have. We can't afford rent. So we come up with an idea. And we say, hey, what if we started renting out air mattresses to our apartment to complete strangers and let them come stay and supplement our rent income? So we started doing that. And it kind of started working a little bit. And at some point along the way of that journey, you and I say, you know what? Maybe this is it. Like, maybe this is the next big thing. But we're not there yet. What do we need? Investors. We need some capital. And in simple terms, what does an investor want to see? They want to see returns. That's it. They want to see something with big potential, but not yet fully realized. That's the key, not yet fully realized. So back in our little journey, okay? 2008, we launch our company, Airbnb. We start to go through a hilarious number of pivots, which is very normal for a startup. And at some point along the way, investors, other people say, you know what? Maybe this is the next big thing. And by 2014, that little company that we started together is now worth $10 billion with a B. Now, I think we'd probably all agree that that feels like it's the next big thing, but not because it was when we were first getting started. All we had then was potential and belief. That's it. So I want to land the plane with you guys with 3 things, okay? A question, a complete plot twist, and an invitation, all right? Let's cover the question first. Thinking about what we just went through, that little journey that you and I just became. What if the South, like what if we right now are the geographical Airbnb? Like, think about that. We are in the inflection of an opportunity curve. I'm not saying we're there yet. We've got stuff we got to work on. But what if we are in the next big thing? That's something to think about, something to get excited about. Second, who doesn't love a good plot twist? All right, so hang with me, all right? What if everything I just talked about and the point I was trying to make really isn't about the South at all? What if that's not the point? What if it's really a real-life metaphor for something that many of us, me included, fall prey to and struggle with a lot of days in our lives? Like, the reality is right now, someone could be giving a phenomenal TED Talk in California about how the future of innovation remains in Silicon Valley. They'd be wrong, but they could be doing it. So what if this is really a much more personal point and takeaway, y'all? Like, every one of us tends to underestimate our own potential and the power of where we already are. So what if this is really a call to stop wondering if you are capable of becoming the next great leader, the next great company, the next great entrepreneur, and start embracing the fact that maybe the next big thing already has your fingerprints all over it. Think about that. So I'm going to leave you with this invitation. Stop chasing the next proverbial Silicon Valley. Grab yourself a big old glass of sweet tea and start building and becoming the next big thing right where you are. Cheers. All right?
To a little bit of chicken fried and cold beer on a Friday night, a pair of jeans that fit just right, and the radio.
What a great session, you guys. Thank you for sitting in, digging in, and we hope you dig in a little bit more right after this.
So, session 1 is done. Do you feel ignited? We heard some amazing, amazing stories. It was really, really beautiful to see how all of them kind of bled into the next. And we have 2 more incredible sessions, but before that, we have our breaks. These aren't just like walk around breaks, check out the booths. We have so many activations. We have everything from a chiropractor that's right there if you're feeling sore from sitting for the last hour and a half. Or we have a great one by Top Shelf Media who's doing all of our video. If you want to give your 10-second TED Talk, you'll get a recording today for it. So
over in the vendor village. Yeah,
ideas
vendor
for
village.
next year? Would love to hear them. There are other activations. Please just explore the space. We try to make it a very attendee-forward experience. We really want you guys to have a great experience. Interact with each other. Each of you came to TED because you love ideas. I'm sure you have great ideas of your own. There are probably better ideas when you guys start talking about them, so make that happen. Evan's going to talk about some panels and some other things, but yeah, go ahead.
On this main stage, we're actually going to switch it out in just a second, but we are going to have a author-writers panel here on stage. You've probably seen it flashing on the screens. Actually, it's timed perfectly right there, which is great. And then we have another panel coming later today at 5:45 with Urban League of the Upstate, which is going to be epic. Both of them are going to be amazing. And if you guys make your way to the cafe, Next Gen is hosting 2 different panels. We have one right now that's starting, and then one coming later this afternoon after session 2. So we're so excited you're here. Again, if you have social media or anything that you've taken, definitely tag us at TEDx Unity Park or the hashtag TEDx Unity Park, and just stay connected. Thank you guys.
If you have red wristband, right, y'all wanted to come to this specific session, we'd love for you guys to hang out with us the rest of the day. That red wristband will allow you into our overflow room, so that way you guys can stay as long as you want, kind of hang out and do those things. And then everyone in this room is invited to our after party at Some Bar. One of our speaker coaches is Kayling Neo. She owns Some Bar and wants to have as many people come through there to celebrate what an amazing night there is. There's going to be karaoke. Should be a good time.
He loves karaoke.
I love karaoke. All right, thank you all.
Thank you.